All right. So another beautiful sunny morning, cold, but the sun is getting a little bit more intense these days, and it does feel like spring could actually happen. We still have a couple of weeks till it's officially spring, but enjoying sunnier, longer days now. And this time of year, the end of February, beginning of March, I think most Canadians get a little bit tired of the winter. I know I'm there. And so what I thought we'd do today is do a practice that's focused on the sun. And really, most of the time, I think we take the sun for granted. It rises every morning and sets every night, and we know that it's going to come back. And we know that the days are going to get longer in the springtime versus the winter. And in that taking for granted, I think sometimes we forget how powerful and important and vital actually that the sun is. And so if we can bring into our hearts a sense of gratitude today for all that the sun gives us, for the energy that it gives us, both sort of physically to grow the plants and keep the planet alive, but also emotionally, the kind of lift it gives us on a nice sunny day when we wake up and we see that beautiful glowing ball of sun. In India, it's quite common to practice some kind of sun gratitude in the morning, so anywhere from a few sun salutations, which is a series of movements in yoga that we're going to look at today, to longer rituals with chanting and gestures and visualizations, all honoring the sun. And today we're going to take that up and do some gratitude and honoring of the sun ourselves. And I'll see you on the mat. So we're going to start lying down so you can get yourselves comfortable when you're ready. So you could lie, or if you prefer, you could sit for the beginning part, the centering. It's up to you. Our movement practice will start lying down in a few minutes once we've done our centering. So getting yourselves comfortable in whatever position works best for you. And take a few slightly deeper breaths, not to the point that you're straining, but to the point that you feel the breath in your body. Feel that sense of gentle fullness as you inhale, and a softening, dropping down, releasing as you exhale. And today I'd like to offer you an optional visualization. If this works for you, you can connect with this. And if not, you can simply feel and continue to feel your breath through your practice. But if it interests you, you might imagine somewhere around the heart, the chest, upper chest, rib cage area, as if there was a sun in your heart. And that could be the full blazing noonday sun, if that's what appeals to you. It could be, the sun as it just starts to peek over the horizon in the morning, or as it's setting in the evening. It could even be a reflected light of the sun on the moon. So whatever version of the sun, if any, appeals to you today, you might imagine somewhere around the chest, the heart area, that this sun resides. And as you breathe, you're bringing your attention to this area, feeling the movement of the breath as if it's the expansion and the sending out of the rays of the sun. And again, if that image doesn't work for you, you might just take your attention to the area around your lungs and heart and tune into the rhythm and movement that's physically present there. Take a few more breaths with this optional visualization if you're choosing to engage with it. And then one or two nice full breaths, as full as is comfortable for you, not straining at all. But breathing in fully, exhale completely. And then if you've been sitting for this beginning part, you'll probably want to lie down for the next few movements. And if you've been lying down, you can come to a position where your legs are bent, feet flat on the floor, knees pointing at the ceiling. And take your arms down alongside the length of your body. And we'll do a little bit of warm up for the shoulders and neck this morning to start out with. So if you take your arms from the ground beside you and extend the arms straight up through the air till the backs of the hands come toward the floor behind you. They may not reach the floor. They could hover above the floor, or if your shoulders will allow comfortably, you can bring the hands to the floor and then back down to your sides. So raising the arms up, you might bend the elbows if that's more comfortable for your shoulders, or you could keep the arms straight. And one more piece here, if you'd like to coordinate your breathing, you could inhale as the arms extend overhead, and then exhale as the arms come back down to your sides. Let's do a couple more like that. You might notice the changing shape of your spine as the arms lift and lower. Last week we talked about posture and opening the chest, strengthening the back, and those principles will come into play today as well. And next time your arms come back down to your sides, you can leave them there. And if the palms are facing the ground, that would be an internal rotation at the shoulder joint. And if you then take your palms and turn them up to the ceiling, this now externally rotates the upper arm in relation to the shoulder. So with that external rotation of the arms, start to slowly slide your arms out to the sides. And whenever you feel a little bit of stretch in the arms, you can pause there, maybe bend the elbows a little bit. It could be anywhere along that path towards the space over your head, wherever it's a gentle stretch across the shoulders and chest for you, and then making sure that the elbows and the backs of your hands are comfortably resting on the ground, so there's no effort here. And then take a moment to really soften and relax through the upper chest and arms. If you need to change the position to be more comfortable, you can lower or raise the arms anytime. And then we'll slowly roll the head towards one side, letting the ear come toward the mat, and then back to center, and then over to the other side. Slowly rolling your head side to side within the space of your arms. Noticing whatever you feel in the neck, the shoulders, the upper chest, maybe even into the upper arms. Again, if you need to lower the arms to find more ease and comfort, you can certainly do that anytime. Right, now, as you bring the head back to center, we'll start to also bring the legs into the equation to add a little bit of a twist. So you may again need to adjust your arms down a little bit as we start to move the knees to the side, but that's up to you, depending how it feels. So you can take the knees one direction and turn the head the opposite way. And then bring your knees back to center, head back to center, and twist the other way. If you want to coordinate your breathing, exhale as you go to the sides, inhale as you come to center, or as always, just move and breathe in a pace that's comfortable for you. Great. Now let's come back to the center with the knees and the nose, and bring both knees up towards your chest. Place one hand on each knee, and move the knees away by straightening your arms. Take a breath in as you do that if you're coordinating with your breath, and then draw the knees towards you, and you would exhale here again if you're choosing to coordinate. Knees move away, exhale, knees draw in. Do a couple more at your own pace. Vary the movement by circling the knees around or rocking from side to side. Feel free to explore a little here. And then gradually drawing the knees back to the center. Keep the right knee into the chest. Bring the left foot to the floor, and if it's comfortable for you, extend the left leg straight out on the ground. And keep that leg active. Press the heel down, squeeze up through the thigh, and have your toes pointing toward the ceiling. It's also fine to have that leg bent if that's more comfortable, and that will keep your lower back a little bit more supported. So if it doesn't feel good, try bending it if that feels better. And then take your hands behind your right thigh and hug the knee in close to the chest. So we'll keep the knee in close to the chest and move the lower leg as much as comfortable towards bringing the sole of the foot to point at the ceiling without lifting the thigh off the chest. So for you, that might be just a little bit of movement, or maybe a little more movement, depending on how tight your legs feel this morning. Great. And then hold there for a couple of breaths, squeezing down with the thigh, reaching the lower leg toward the ceiling, sole of the foot. And then you can release the thigh from the chest. Either keep the hands on the back of the leg or let go as you circle the ankle around. Circling one way and then the other. And then relax your foot, give that leg a gentle shake. Bring the knee back to the chest, squeeze in, and then release your foot to both knees for a moment. And if you feel like your hips have come off kilter a little bit, you might want to lift them up and bring them back down so you feel like you're back in alignment. And then from there, we'll draw the left knee into the chest, hands behind the thigh, stretching the right leg straight out on the ground. That's optional. Again, you can keep that right leg bent if that's more comfortable. Stretch it out if you prefer. Heel down, toes pointing up, squeezing up through the thigh and feeling that right leg nice and active and alive. And then with your left knee in close to the body, as much as possible moving the lower leg so that the sole of the foot is moving towards pointing at the ceiling. And there may not be a lot of movement here, so it can be quite a stretch for the hamstrings. So do your best, even if that's just lifting the leg a few inches. And then stay there for a couple of breaths. Right leg stays active. And then you can release the hand, stretch the leg a little more. It may not be fully straight, that's fine. Circle the ankle a few times. And then relax your foot, give that leg a little shake. Bend the knee, hug it in, and then bring your foot to the floor. Bend both knees again. And again, you can shift your center if you feel like they've come off center a little bit or misaligned with your spine. So coming back to what feels like an aligned position. And again, bring your arms down alongside your body with the palms facing the ground. And walk your heels in so they're quite close to your sit bones. Make sure that that's comfortable for your knees. So for some of you, maybe the knees don't want to flex quite that much, and then you might have your feet a little bit further away from your hips. So whatever position is comfortable for your knees. And we'll start to lift in bridge. And today, as we lift in bridge, we'll also extend the arms overhead, as long as that's comfortable for your shoulders. So start with a breath in. As you exhale, press into your feet, feel your lower back move toward the ground. And then as you start to lift your hips, take your arms over your head, again to the floor or in that direction, and then lower down. If you coordinate with your breath, that's again optional. Inhale as you lift, taking the arms overhead, hips toward the ceiling, and then lower down, exhaling. A couple more here. Next time you come back down to where we started with the arms at your sides and the hips on the ground, stay there. And what we'll do next is we'll come into the pose and we'll stay. Again, this is optional. If it feels better to keep moving for you, then go ahead and keep moving. When we stay, we're going to keep the arms down at the sides. So with the palms down, there's a little bit of internal rotation at the shoulders. We're going to gently press down with the arms, lift up with the hips. Maybe draw the elbow or shoulders in a little bit underneath you and press down a little more with the arms. Feel active and engaged. Arms and legs. The legs doing most of the work, the arms adding a little bit of support. And then see if you can find a little bit of softening in your throat, your face, your jaw, neck. And then lower down slowly. As you bring the hips to the ground, if you've wiggled your shoulders in, you can release them out. And again, bring your knees in toward your chest. We'll take the legs toward the ceiling. The arms either reach overhead or, if it's more comfortable, out to the sides. And then bring your knees back to your chest. Give a little squeeze in. And then release and extend out. If you want to coordinate your breath, inhale as you extend, exhale as you draw in. Next time your knees come to your chest, you can stay there for a few breaths. Again, maybe rock a little side to side, or if you prefer, circle your knees around. And then gradually, knees back to center. Give a little squeeze. And then feet back to the floor. We're going to make our way to sitting, and the easiest way to get there is to roll onto one side. Use your opposite hand against the floor and use that to support yourself in coming up to a seated position. You can sit on a chair for this part if you like, or you can use a cushion or a blanket to support you on the ground. Or if it's comfortable for you, you might just sit right on your mat. So I find that if I get my hips up a little bit, it's a lot easier on my lower back and hip flexors to sit comfortably. So you can experiment around until you find a seated position that feels comfortable for you. We'll do a little bit of work to open up and strengthen the wrists. So if you start with the palms together, and let's come back to that optional visualization that I offered you earlier. So if you like, you can close your eyes. And imagine that sun in your heart. And again, if you prefer to simply feel the actual movement of your breath, then you might Simply tune into your breath, or you could imagine the sun expanding as you breathe in and softening all around the shoulders, neck, jaw as you exhale. And let's now take the arms and raise them up as if you're taking that sun from your heart, lifting it up, and then exhale, spreading it out around you. Bringing the hands back together, lifting, and creating a kind of aura of sunlight around you, like a halo. Last time, big circle around, and then bring the hands back to the front of the chest, palms together, and put a little pressure into your hands and move the heels of your hands down toward the ground so you feel a bit of stretch in the forearms. And keep your shoulders relaxed. And then we'll release the hands a little bit. Take the palms and turn them toward the floor so the backs of the hands are up. And then take the backs of the hands towards each other and turn the fingertips down and in towards you. And then reaching the palms forward, sort of like an offering. And then bring the backs of the hands together. Fingertips come in, down, around, and the palms come back together like you're gathering that light back into your heart. So palms down, backs of the hands together, fingertips in, and offering that light perhaps to others who may need a little lift today. And then receiving that light back into your own heart. Fingertips down, around, palms back together. Let's do that one more time. Palms down, backs of the hands come together, fingers down, in, and offering, sending that light out. And then gathering some of that light back in to your own heart. And take a couple of breaths here. And then we'll stretch each finger. So starting with whichever side you want. And 1 or 2 seconds, give a little stretch to each finger. When you get to your thumb, be gentle. Just gently draw it back, not too intensely. And then other hand when you're ready. Again, gently with the thumb. Make some circles with your wrists. A few times each direction. And then if you take your thumbs and tuck them in to your hands, you can make some circles for a little bit of a different stretch on the wrists here. Again, a couple times each way. Good. And then give the hands a shake. And let your hands come down to rest on your lap or on your thighs, and notice any sensations that may be present in your hands, wrists, forearms. Notice the effect of the little bit of work that we just did on the hands and arms. Let's take the hands now and interlace the fingers. And we'll reach the hands back behind the head as long as that's comfortable for your shoulders. You can do this with the arms down as well if you find that this is any kind of strain for your shoulders. And we'll start by letting the elbows come wide and the head gently lift back into the hands. Feel a little bit of space across the chest. Breathe into that space. And then we're going to draw the elbows towards each other, and without pulling on your head, let the head come down toward the chest. And take a few breaths, feeling as though maybe your breath could move into the space between your shoulder blades. And put a little pressure with your head into your hands as you lift the head. Draw the elbows back. Take a couple of breaths. And once more coming forward. Elbows in, but not yanking on your head at all. Breathing into the space between your shoulder blades. And then gradually lifting to neutral. Release the hands, stretch them up overhead, palms facing each other. Draw your shoulder blades down. Feel the muscles underneath your shoulders, so just in the sides by your armpits here, drawing those shoulders down and feel your neck long. You can bend your elbows a little bit. And then from here, squeeze the elbows in towards each other. Feel the upper back. So elbows a little bent, squeeze in, feel space in the upper back. Take the arms wide, bring the elbows down a little bit, and open up the front of the chest. Good, and then bring the arms down onto your thighs or into your lap. And again, take a moment to notice shoulders, chest, arms, hands. We're going to come over onto all fours. So if you want to use your blanket to support underneath your knees, you can do that. My mat's thick enough, so it's not necessary for me today. And if you have some blocks, you might want to bring them towards the front of your mat. You can also do this without blocks. So when we get there, I'll let you know. So hands underneath your shoulders and have the whole heel of your hand, so from the thumb side to the baby finger side, making contact with the mat. And you might want to kind of create a little suction cup with your hands and press down with your fingertips. If it feels comfortable for you to also press the knuckles, the bases of the fingers into the mat, you can try that. For me, I find a little bit of space is actually a bit more comfortable on my wrists if I don't really press down in the center of my palm, but keep the fingertips grounded. So from here, lifting the head, lifting the tail, draw the shoulders back. Imagine that light at your heart shining forward. And then tuck your tailbone under, draw the head down, and reach the back towards the ceiling. Inhaling, arching, or extending the spine. Exhaling, rounding, or flexing the spine. You can stay with this movement, cat-cow, or if you prefer, instead of just rounding your back on the exhale, you could also come to child's pose. Either way, inhale all fours, finding extension, exhale, rounding, and maybe adding child's pose. For those of you looking for a little bit more here, as you come to all fours and inhale, you could extend the opposite arm and leg, not same, that'll be difficult. It's difficult enough, opposites. And then exhale, child's pose. Inhale, opposite arm and leg if you're choosing that option. Exhale, child's pose. Or simply rounding your back on the exhale. Right, and then let's come back up to all fours and we'll lower down onto the elbows. Give your wrists a little bit of a break. You can do a little movement here, waving the hands back and forth or circling the wrists. And then when you feel ready, come back up to all fours. Bend the elbows a little and squeeze the elbows in just like we did with the arms overhead. And in a moment, the arms will be overhead again if you choose to come with me to downward dog. So elbows in, tuck the toes under, lift the hips, let the head come between the arms, press into the hands, bend the knees so you find lots of length from your wrists to your hips. One breath here, and then we'll lower back down. If child's pose is comfortable for you, you can come to child's pose. Maybe the head comes onto the hands, or the hands could come back by the feet. The head could rest on the ground or on a block or on your hands. And if child's pose isn't comfortable, Stay more upright in a version of puppy with the forearms on the ground and the hips over the knees. And 1 or 2 more breaths here. And then when you're ready, come back up to all fours, and we're going to work with probably the more challenging part of the sun salutation. Many of you know this step forward from downward dog can be a bit tricky, so you might want to have blocks under your hands if they're handy, and if not, that's okay. We'll get there one way or another. So tuck your toes under, lift up to downward dog, head comes between the arms, knees bent, long spine, and to step forward, you're going to exhale completely, look between your hands and step, and you might only step a few inches. You might be able to step all the way forward, so find your way there. 1 foot, and then step back. And again, doesn't matter how far you get. If you only get halfway there, that's fine. Try that and step back. If your wrists are still okay, try again. Forward, back, forward, back. So if you only get part way, and this is much more likely if you're not using blocks, you're just going to step your feet forward. And if you can step right to your hands, then step 1 foot and then the other forward to come to a standing forward bend. And then we'll take the hands to either the shins or the knees, coming up enough so you can find a little bit of arch in the back. Bend your knees, let the tail and head lift, shoulders back, your heart sunlight shining forward. Big breath in here, and then exhale and release forward. Let the neck and head relax forward. And then we'll come all the way up, breathing in, raising your arms up overhead. Exhale and release. So you should be standing now near the front of your mat. And take a moment. Feel your feet on the ground, the heels, the balls of your feet, the toes. Bring your palms together again at your heart. If you've been using the visualization of the sun, you might come back to that image at your heart. And then let's imagine taking that sun and lifting it. Taking the arms up overhead, big circle around. As you exhale, bend your knees a little. Come forward, let your head release down like you're spreading that sunlight all the way down to the earth and lifting it back up overhead and back into the heart. So again, inhaling, stretching up, spreading that aura of light around you, bending forward at the hips, knees soft, gathering that light, lifting it all the way up, bringing it into your hands and back to your heart. And let's do that one more time. Right. So we'll move into the next part of the sun salutation, where we step back and come into lunge from the forward bend. So taking the arms up, big breath in, spreading the light around you as you come forward. If you've got blocks, you can bring your hands to the blocks or to the ground. Could be fingertips. Bend your knees and step your right foot back. And if you need to wiggle it back a little further to find a nice position for lunge, you can do that. And then think about squaring the hips. So the left hip is going to move back a little, the right hip forward a little, almost like you're trying to squeeze the upper thighs towards each other. You can certainly stay here with your hands on the ground if you want to test your balance a little bit. You might bring your hands up onto your front knee. Find your balance there, and if you still want a little bit more here, you might lift the upper body a bit more and extend the arms over your head. Turn the palms to face each other, draw the shoulders down. And last week, if you remember, we talked about bringing the ribs and the hips a little together in the front, stabilizing the lower back, and then letting that lift come in through the heart. Feel the sun, if you're visualizing the sun in your heart, that it beams upwards. Good. From here, let's bring the hands down. We'll step forward again. Bring your hands onto your shins or your knees, a little bend in your knees. Find that lift in the heart again, breathing in. And then exhale, fold forward. Gathering light, reaching out to the sides. Bringing the arms overhead, hands together, and hands back to the heart. Take a breath here. Feel yourself settle. Maybe feel the difference between one hip and the other after doing the lunge on one side. And let's inhale and lift. Big circle, bend your knees, a little exhale, come forward, head down. Inhaling, coming up part way to find that little bit of a lift, shoulders back. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale. Yeah, let's come all the way up again. We'll gather that light back to the heart. And this time when we go forward, we'll step back into lunge on the other side. Inhale, lift. Exhale, big circle. You take your left foot now, step back. You want to keep both feet pointing forward, so the back foot, you're on the ball of your foot and the toes, rather than for warrior, how we would turn the foot out to the side. So from here, you can either keep your hands on the ground, or if you're feeling a little more confident with your balance, you might bring your hands up onto your front thigh or knee. Again, we want to think about the left hip moving a little forward, right hip back, as if we're trying to squeeze the upper thighs towards each other. And if you still want more here, try lifting the arms overhead, palms face each other, shoulders move down. Ribs and hips moving slightly towards each other, engaging the core, and then finding a little lift at the heart. Good breathing here. And then we'll lower the hands down, step forward. Let your hands come to shins or knees to come part way up. Lifting the heart, exhale, fold forward, head releasing down. And then inhale and come all the way up. Gathering that light, palms come together and back to the heart. So we'll continue on with our sun salutation this time. Inhaling, as if you're gathering that light now, bring it through the heart and all the way down to the earth, releasing the hands. And then hands to knees or shins, coming up part way to lengthen the spine, and exhale, fold forward. Let's take the right foot back and come into lunge. And then we're going to step the left foot back and come to plank. So in plank pose, the shoulders, the hips, and the heels are in line. Your head is in line with your spine. Let's lower the knees down. We're going to come to the ground by bending the elbows and letting the body roll down, thighs, belly, chest, forehead. When you get there, bring your hands forward so your elbows are on the ground. Hands on either side of your face. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, press your hips and thighs into the ground and feel your legs really firm. Next inhale, without using your hands, lift up, chest and head, and then exhale, lower down. And we'll do this a few times, strengthening the back. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower down. There's no pressure on the arms. One more time. You're using your spine, the muscles that support your spine to lift you. Exhale, come down. And then slide the hands back so that the palms are on the floor by the shoulders or below the shoulders at the upper rib cage. Press into the palms, come up to all fours, and walk back to child's pose. Again, your head could rest on your hands or on the ground. Arms could be out in front, under your head, or back by your feet. And take a few breaths here. You might also come to that modified puppy pose if that's more comfortable with the hips up in the air and the elbows on the ground. So wherever you find yourself, breathing into the back space of your heart now. And imagine that sun, if you're using that image, sort of beaming out the back of your body and creating some expansion and light into the back of your body. So from child's pose, we'll come back up to all fours. And here's where, if you have blocks, they can be quite handy to help extend the length of your arms a little bit to step forward from downward dog. The other option, rather than coming to downward dog to step forward, you might find that staying on all fours and maybe lifting up and bringing one foot forward is a better option. So however you want to get there, we'll be bringing the right foot forward between the hands. You can come to downward dog first and then step forward. And if you only step part way, just walk yourself forward. So stepping with the right foot, then the left foot. And then coming part way up, hands to shins or knees. Inhaling and then exhaling forward. Imagine gathering the light, reaching the arms to the sides, bringing all that beautiful light back to your heart. Pausing here for a couple of breaths. And we have time for one more sun salutation here. So taking that light now, reaching it up. And big circle, spreading it out, reaching all the way down towards the ground. Inhale, coming part way up, lengthening the spine. Exhaling to fold forward. We'll take the left foot and step it back this time. Use your blocks or not, it's up to you. We're going to step back to plank. And actually, it's probably a little easier to be in plank without the blocks. Lower the knees, bend the elbows, and let the body roll down. Bring the arms forward so you take the weight off the wrists. Press down into the hips and thighs. Inhale, lift just a little bit, a couple inches off the ground and stay there. Exhale. Inhale, maybe lift a little more. Exhale. If it's available, lift a little more. With your inhale, try to keep that height as you exhale. And then maybe one or two more breaths here if you've still got the energy to stay. When you're ready to come down, lower down slowly. Slide the hands back by the upper ribs. Press into the palms. And come back to either child's pose or puppy for a few breaths. From here back to all fours. Again, here's where the blocks are the most helpful. If you've got them, if not, you'll do your best to get your left foot forward between your hands, either from kneeling or from downward dog. And it may be that you walk forward. It may be that you step the left foot, then the right foot forward. However you get there is absolutely fine. Hands to shins or knees, lengthening. Exhaling to fold forward. Let your head go. And then gathering light. Inhale, reaching all the way up. Exhale, palms together. Hands back to your heart. And releasing. Right, so that's sun salutation. And We just did a couple of them today, but if you were to do a few more, you might, and you may already feel a little bit of warmth in your body from the movement, using the big muscles of the body. So sun salutations, great for stretching and strengthening the front and the back of the body. And we'll add a little bit of a side bend to stretch out the sides as well. We'll do simple side bend with the feet just about shoulder distance apart, or slightly wider or narrower, somewhere in that range, wherever's comfortable for you. Try not to lock your knees, so maybe even bend and straighten them a few times. Make sure there's no tension in the knees. And then you can have the legs straight, but keep the thighs engaged, and perhaps even a slight bend in the knees so you're not locked in place. So we'll take one arm up, reaching it up overhead with a breath in. And as you exhale, reach over to the opposite side, sliding the hand down toward the knee. As you come up, switch arms as you inhale. And then exhale, reaching over to the other side. So you're always switching arms as you come up, reaching down to the side. If you're coordinating breath, you inhale to come upright, exhale to the side. So coordinating the breath is always optional. But of course, breathing is not optional. Although it's quite common to hold the breath when you're trying something new or unfamiliar. But if you catch yourself holding your breath, make sure that you come back to a nice, easeful breath as soon as you notice. And if you like, you can stay in that side bend for a few breaths. If it feels better to keep moving, go ahead and keep moving. And think about lengthening rather than collapsing. So this shorter side is also trying to get longer. Switch sides when you're ready. And again, it's not about how far you go to the side, but really keeping the integrity of the pose, lengthening, keeping this upper shoulder back rather than twisting forward, and then coming up. Let's keep the feet wide, and we'll take a breath in, turning the palms up and then overhead. As you exhale, bend your knees, let your forearms come down to your thighs, and come into a bit of a forward bend half squat. Inhale and lift. Again, coordinating your breath is optional, so you can just lift and lower with an easy breath, or you can coordinate inhale up, exhale forward. This time, if you want to go a little more forward, sweep the hands right down toward the ground. Let the head release down, and then inhale, gather and lift. Exhale, either forearms to thighs or hands toward the ground. And then you have the option to stay. So you can either keep moving, as we've been doing, or you can stay either forearms to thighs or hands toward the ground. Take a few breaths there. When you're ready to come up, you're going to inhale and reach all the way overhead. Exhale to release. Let's bring the feet back in underneath the hips in Tadasana, roughly hip distance apart with the feet and more or less parallel with the feet. But, for some people, slightly turned out is more comfortable. So finding that position where your feet line up more or less under your hips and you feel comfortable. Lift the shoulders, roll them back and down. And without squeezing the shoulder blades back, feel a gentle openness across the collarbones. If it's helpful to you, you can bring the hands and gently interlace the fingers behind your back to help keep a little bit of openness across the collarbones. And take a few breaths here, tuning into a gentle expansion, not just in the front of the chest, but underneath the armpits and into the back of the body as well. Imagining, if you are using the image of the sun, a gentle expansion in all dimensions, all directions through the chest, upper back, armpits. And then bring your palms together again at your heart. And in whatever words or in whatever way feels right to you, you might just silently give a little thanks, excuse me, to the sun. Maybe it's sunny where you are today, maybe it's not, but wherever you are, up above the clouds, if there's clouds, the sun is there shining. The sun is like a good friend, it's always there. Even when we can't see it, we know that it will return. So connecting with a sense of gratitude in your own heart for the warmth and the light, the energy of the sun. And then as you feel ready, you can slowly release your arms. And we're going to move back onto the ground. So you can get there however is comfortable for you. And we're going to come right back onto our backs. And you might want to draw your knees into your chest. Maybe do a little movement, circling or rocking. Another option here, you can stretch the legs toward the ceiling, arms toward the ceiling. Maybe give it a little circle to the ankles and wrists. Shake the limbs, ankles and wrists floppy now. Just letting go of any tension that you may have brought into your body through the effort of the practice. And then let that go, bringing the knees back to the chest. Releasing the feet to the floor. We're going to take a few minutes to rest and renew and relax and come into Shavasana, whatever position you prefer. So you could come back to seated, you could, and the hands can be on your body or on the floor, or if you prefer, legs straight out, which is a little bit more of a traditional position for our final relaxation here. However, if your lower back wants the support of knees bent, that's a really beautiful option as well. So find that position that's comfortable for you. If being on your back isn't comfortable, be on your side or whatever other position is comfortable. And you can close your eyes if you like. If you prefer to keep your eyes open, soften your focus so you're not distracted. And come back to your breath in a sense of letting go of any effort from the practice. Feeling your body start to settle and soften on the ground again. Check in with your jaw and your face. Make sure that you're not bringing and holding tension around your face. Release the jaw and soften the muscles around your eyes, across your forehead. And let the weight of your head sink down into your mat. Tune into the rhythm of your breath. And without changing the breath, simply be aware that you're breathing. If you've been enjoying the image of the sun in your heart, you might come back to that image and feel the warmth around your heart now. A kind of softening and melting. Moving through the world, sometimes we have to put a little armor around our hearts. But in this safe space, in this moment, see if you can soften that armor a little bit. Feel your shoulders sink down and let your arms relax from the shoulders right to the hands. Soften your belly and your lower back. Feel the weight of your pelvis on the ground and soften the muscles around your sacrum and the back of your body. Feel the glutes release and a little drop through the hips into the earth. And soften the space between your two hip bones in the front of your pelvis. So your lower abdomen relaxing. And then feel your thighs release. Your knees drop down. Calves and ankles. And even your feet could soften and relax. As you exhale, feel your whole body let go of any residual tension or holding. Wherever you notice that you're holding in your body, could you find a little more ease? Each time you exhale, perhaps you could soften a little bit more. And as our days get longer with the growing light, sun returning in the spring and returning each morning to brighten our days, warm the earth. So we engage with a sense of gratitude for that return of the sun. And the chant today is along that theme of gratitude for the rising sun, the return of the sun. Ayatu Varada Devi Aksharam Brahma Samhitam Gayatri Chandasa Mata Idam Brahma Jushasvanaha. So you might take a few slightly deeper breaths now. And if you choose to stay a little longer with your Shavasana, with your relaxation, you can go ahead and stay where you are. And for those of you who are ready to get on with your day, you might start to wiggle your fingers and toes, stretch your body out. Move in any way that would feel good. And eventually rolling onto one side again to make that transition back to seated in the most relaxed manner possible, and taking your time to come back upright as you're ready. And if you've come back to seated, you might bring the hands together at the heart. Again, engaging with the gratitude for the light and the warmth of the sun as the days get longer and spring gets nearer. And then take a moment, open the hands, and send that sun out to whoever might need it: friend, foe, loved one, stranger. And then bring the hands back to the heart, keeping some of that good energy with you. And as you go out into the world, you might be the light for others today. Be the one that smiles first, the one that offers light to others who may be suffering. We never know what anyone else is carrying with them. So carry the light with you and be the light to the world. Namaste.